Welcome to the good ride. Right here is the Nitro Phantom. Next to me is the Team Pro and the Phantom Plus. I got this in a wide variety of conditions and rode this with a lot of different boards individually. Then I got this into a sampler, compared it against these two that you see here, the Phantom Plus and the Team Pro, but also compared it against the Atlas, the Mercury, and many other bindings in a sampler on the same day with the same boots, like my Ride Torrent or Ride Fuse. I mostly rode it with my Yes Greats. When it comes to weight, the Phantom is 2 pounds, and that's with screws and discs. In comparison to the Phantom Plus, that's 2.2 pounds, and it's the same weight as the Team Pro. So at 2 pounds, it's not too heavy, not too light. When it comes to Highback Flex, I actually like this Highback Flex a little bit better than the Phantom Plus, because this doesn't have as much twist. It's got a little more stiffness, especially on the back here, but it's not like those ultra carbon, super stiff bindings. It's got a little give. It's got a lot of padding on the back too, so it really didn't bite into my calves very much. Neither did the Phantom though. And the Team Pro has a lot of cush throughout, but it's got an easier twist and a little bit of give on the back. This has a little bit of give at the very top, but as you get down to the middle here, there's almost none, and there's just a good bit of twist. I just like how Nitro designs a high back. I've never had one bite into my calves and cause problems for me. And of course, you can rotate them so they bite less into your calf and line up more with your heel side edge so you have more symmetrical turning. When it comes to flex underfoot, there are many others out there that have much more butterability, like the Union Falcor, like the Union Strata, or even the Union Ultra. You can see it's just one mini disc here, about the same size as Nitro, but then all of this is like a soft, kind of plasticky, rubbery kind of material that allows the board to really flex well underfoot. Same with the Rome Katana, which has a bigger disc, but has so much soft foam that it's much easier to butter. These are pretty cool because there's butterability, but a lot of dampness. When it comes to response, not quite as responsive as the Phantom Plus, but pretty responsive and a good bit more responsive than the Team Pro. But when you flip the ankle strap of the Team Pro and you get this ASIM up here, you get a lot more response and it almost matches the Phantom. I don't really think it's as responsive as they say, maybe take it down a notch or two, because you have such a soft footbed, especially on the gas pedal here, and that doesn't initiate a turn as fast, but then the rest of the binding takes over after the initiation and accelerates the response a little bit, but it's still a very smooth feel throughout the turn. When it comes to shock absorption and dampening, you have a lot of dampening going on at the bottom here. It feels like very stiff rubber, and it dampens up the ride a lot. Now, it dampens more than the Team Pro, which you can see here that mainly has just a hard plastic. But then if you compare it to something like the Phantom Plus, this has a lot more dampening happening than this guy here. And you can see throughout. In comparing it to something like, let's say, the Jones Mercury, I was really surprised at how well the Phantom Plus hung in there with all the Jones and Now bindings, which I feel are like the best when it comes to dampening and shock absorption. I didn't get as much shock absorption and dampening with the Team Pro, but it's still way in the upper tier. We're just talking exceptional with the Phantom Plus and near exceptional with the Phantom, and then upper tier, like top of the class. When it comes to boot support, I like how light it is. I like how easy it conforms to your boot, but I just wish it had a little more width, because sometimes I felt like this part wasn't where I wanted it to be when it was perfectly centered on the boot. But overall, very good strap. I just like the Phantom Plus strap a little bit better. It felt a little more cush and a touch more supportive. And you can see this strap wraps further around. I could really crank down the toe strap and it wouldn't pop up on me as much as some bindings do. The ratchet system's pretty smooth. I didn't have any issues with it, you've got a very reliable ratchet system. Now, when it comes to adjustability, Nitro cares about all different size boots. This really allows you to center your boot in the binding and therefore be centered on board, so you have much more symmetrical response. On top of that, instead of having to turn the disc this way, edge to edge, you can turn the disc this way and slide it tip to tail and get your perfect stance width. The mini disc with Nitro, it's about the same size as the Union, maybe just a few millimeters bigger in circumference. But if you compare it to, let's say, the Rome, this can actually be mounted as a full-size disc. And that's the one detraction with mini discs, because let's say you have inserts that are 40 mil apart instead of 20 mil. You can't use those with Nitro and most mini discs. So they're often excluded if you're considering a board with setback inserts for powder days. And riding setback and powder is really the way to go for average riders like myself who want easy directional float and don't want to get stuck. So overall, it really stood up well in comparison to so many other bindings I tried, and it integrated well with so many boards I tried it with. If Nitro hadn't sent me the Phantom Plus, I would probably say this is a favorite. This is the better choice of the two for me personally. You could go Phantom and have a great time. I would say also though, if you want a more balanced binding, you might really like the Team Pro. These were my two favorites out of all the testing, the Team Pro and the Phantom Plus. They just did the most for me. But this Phantom is a great binding as well. So if this calls to you, you're gonna have a great time. You can go for this and it's great.